Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Build Lessons. Last episode we created this little layout of our city, or our town, probably more like a town, not gonna really make a city. Um, and since that point I've been doing a few other things. I've been working to try to figure out what exact style I wanted to try to make this city and show you, well, this town. I keep saying city, don't I? So behind me I have some examples of the style of build that I'm planning on making for this town. Um, I threw this together over like the course of the last day or so. So this is, it's a kind of interesting style. It's like a mixture between, I think, like steampunk, country, Victorian in a way, and just the mixture of a bunch of different building styles. I don't know if there's actually a name for this, and I don't know much about this. I just basically threw things together that I thought looked good. So this is the style of build that I'm going to be showing you how to make for this area over here. It's actually relatively simple to make. I'm just going to need to get a few materials before we start. So I'm just going to pick block some of these. Fence, there we go, and some birch wood, some spruce wood. Can I even get some spruce wood? Is there any solid pieces of spruce wood I can get? I know there is inside. Somewhere. Come on. I know you're in here somewhere. There you go. Okay, so let's begin over here. I'm gonna choose one of these houses by random, and I'm gonna start working on it. So what I'm gonna end up doing is, on the corners, I'm gonna build up 4 high with these logs, and I'm just gonna repeat this. Oops, I'm just gonna repeat this for all the different corners of this house. It's gonna be a kind of repetitive process. So just follow along with me for a moment here while I just get this done. Sorry for any lack of commentary while I'm doing this. I really don't know much to talk about while I'm just making a bunch of pillars of logs. So, okay, so we have the basis for the structure of our house, and in between each of these we're going to make a 4 high thing of birchwood planks. You can use oakwood planks, you can use any type of planks you want. In this texture pack I like the look of birchwood better. In default, birchwood is much lighter than it is in this texture pack, so if you're using default, most likely you want to go with either spruce or oak to get the best desired effect. However, in this texture pack, they're a little bit darker, and I don't really feel like having extremely dark wood along with these very dark logs, so I'm just using the birch wood for some contrast, as I went over before. So I'm almost done with this now, and this gives us the basic shape and the overall look of the house so far. And on these now, every time we have one of these birch things, we're just going to place a stair on the bottom. So, and over here we'll ignore because that's a corner. We can't place the stair that way and that way at the same time unless we were to go like that, but that looks clunky, so we're going to basically ignore that, and we'll do something else with that in a little bit. So we have this now. We need to work on the roof before we can really continue farther on this look, and in order to do that I'm going to find the relative center of this build, which happens to actually be 2 blocks in this case, as with most of the cases that I've built this style so far. I'm going to build these up 2 blocks high and 1 block high, basically making the center a little bit higher than the outsides. And once I do that, now you'll see that if we place a roof on there, it would have a little bit of a curve. And to make the roof, what we're going to do is, first let's fill in the rest of these now. And right after we get done with filling this in, basically we're just going to take some spruce wood and have it just overhang on all sides by 1 block. Okay. Took me a second to figure out what exactly went wrong there. So we're just going to have this go over on one block on each side, and this will give us the desired look we're going for. And on this part we'll actually make it overlap a few more blocks because we just want this roof to sort of be uniform. So just finish this up. We'll fix any looks the roof looks odd at the end, but for now we are getting close to finishing this roof. Just a few final edges, and we're also going to make it go over one on the sides. Forgot to do that there. And there we go. The roof is basically done. We're already starting to get a very similar style here. And we're going to place upside down stairs on each of these. And we're going to follow that look along as well. Basically everywhere we have a right side up stair, we're going to put an upside down one. So, like so. Now, in between each of these, we're going to put a cobblestone wall. So, just in between each of the stairs. And we'll put one there too. And then follow the rest of the way up to the roof with some fences. And this will give us the look that you saw over there, most of the look at least. This build will really come together when we put the leaves on. Leaves can be used as really effective foliage. Basically, I'm using the leaves as like a form of overgrowth. If you look back over here, you'll see that the leaves basically look like they're growing on this house. It makes the house look old. It makes it look sort of unmaintained, but it also sort of fits the style that we're trying to go for here. So, we're going to make some windows as the next step. And before we make the windows, we should really decide where exactly we want the door in this house. I'm probably going to make the door right here. So I'm going to remove the staircase from there and make this go down one more. And so that's going to be our doorway. The rest of these can be windows right there. You want to give a good amount of windows. You don't need to make everything a window, but for now we're just going to make everything a window and we'll close them off. These ones we can't really because they're only one block high. And we're going to just place some glass panes inside of there, just so we don't have to worry about that later. So, and in fact that might be easier to do from the inside. So inside we can see we have a little bit of a pretty spacious interior for the style we're going for. In terms of a house in Minecraft, you really don't need this much space for a lot of your utilities, especially when you're making a town, because each building will typically have one purpose. So, in here we now have a bunch of windows. In fact, that might not be a bad place for a window itself right there. So, and in windows like this, I sometimes will put a block, that's interesting, put a block like that where I have an the staircase is facing the window, so you see the window is flush with this, but there's a little bit of a ledge there. It just gives a little bit more depth. So in terms of this first layer, believe it or not, we are already basically done. In order to progress really farther in here, what we need to do is we're going to choose a random area in the roof, and we're going to basically tear a hole in the roof. So I'm going to do that right about here. And I'm going to mark out where I'm going to have the corners to this next area of the roof. So we're going to need to make a hole this sized. And typically I just like to make a log pattern go around wherever I'm going to have all this stuff built up from. So we'll just put this little thing right here. Just excuse me for a second while I figure out exactly what I want to do here. These will look like beams from the inside, but they'll also give us some like markers so that we know where we're going to be building off of. So just build these up a few until they're like one higher than the highest block on the roof. And just build this one up a little bit as well. Make sure that all of them are level. So this is going to be the level of our next, we're going to start the next floor. We're going to also build up with these birchwood planks, or oak wood if you're using it. I'm using spruce wood for the roof and birch for the walls. So here's the look of this so far. If I'm to look at it from the front, you can see we're starting to get the little base for where the house is going to actually end up being. So from here, you can do several things. I'm going to personally expand the roof by 1 block on both sides over here. And I'm going to do this using logs on the side. And like so. Make these logs not quite look so uneven a little bit. Just make them all facing down. There we go. And we're going to now build up 4 blocks. You can go 3 if you want. I'm going to go 4. So this is only a type of style of house. There's several types of houses you can do. If you just experiment around, you'll come up with something kind of cool. I just was messing around and throwing stuff together, trying to experiment, and this is what I came up with. In fact, that's actually might be one of my favorite styles of house to actually build now. It's very easy to build, and I personally like the way it looks. A lot of people are not a big fan of the leaves, and I don't know why. I mean, yeah, if you don't use them correctly, they can look really cluttered and they can look like you're trying to make a mess out of the build. But if they're used correctly, they can really add a lot of character to it. They can really add a lot of that feel, that life. They also add variety, and they also they add a few other things as well. So here's what we have so far. We have a somewhat basic plan out for our second part of the roof. Here we're going to place the staircases down 1 block lower than normal, and in this case, actually no. We're going to place these ones upside down and change it up a little bit, because some of these are going to be floating. And then we can place one on top of that right side up. So this one goes upside down right there, and then right side up. And now that we're done with that, we can put our cobblestone walls in, just like before. Same pattern. And we're going to raise these middle sides up 1 block. Now note about this style, it doesn't look quite as good if you rotate the roofs. In some build styles it looks amazing if you rotate the roofs and make this roof curve this way, and then you turn 90 degrees and this one curves this way. For example, I could raise these 2 up instead of these ones and have the roof go in a different rotation, and that one doesn't really look as good in this style of build as having the roofs go in one direction like this. So this is what we're going to go with, and we're going to fill in the roof. And you've watched me do this already, so I'm going to cut the footage right here, and I'm just going to finish this off for a minute, and then I'll show you anything else that I did. Okay, and finally, when the roof is done, you go, oops, wrong one. When the roof is done, you're going to do the same thing you did on the front side, and we're going to add the fences going up to the roof, just as you probably figured we were going to do. This just adds a little bit of depth to the house. This house doesn't actually have a ton of depth, but it does have a look and feel as if it had more than it actually does, so we can get away with it. And we're going to place these upside down stairs. The cool thing about the stairs is that they don't join to the fences or to the cobblestone walls, and so they just look like they're just sticking out. And as compared to if we did this, it would look kind of awkward. So that's why I'm using stairs. And in these windows, I guess it won't really matter if we have these ones 2 units high. It's the because I'll show you how that looks in just a moment. But we're going to trim these ones down, and I'm going to put that one like that. And we're just going to poke a hole in these ones. So just basically make some windows. And we're going to hop inside here. Right now there's a big hole going down to the inside, and we can actually remove that. We don't need that here right now. But as you see, this is where we're going to put our like ladder well going up to the top, where we're going to have the second floor. So I'm probably going to put the ladder right here. Let me just get the ladder out, and so just build a ladder going up or something. You don't necessarily need a ladder. In my opinion, in this style, the ladder works kind of well because it's a sort of mixture between sort of medieval, steampunk look with a few other looks like Victorian in a way and some other stuff. So the ladder sort of goes with the rickety look of the house, and these beams supposed to look like they support the house while the house is sort of floating, etc. So we can get away with having, and that's going to be a little bit of a dilemma right there, but we can get away with the beams looking more exposed, like they don't necessarily need to have flush things against them, but I'm probably going to just do this anyways, just have them look like they're only suspended 1 block below the ceiling. So that looks a little bit better. But there we go, there's our bottom and top floor. We're just going to, I'm going to need to get some more glass panes. And it's basically the same process, and at this point we are essentially done with the mass of the house. We have a little bit more work to do if we want to make this house look a little bit better, and that's to add the leaves and some lighting. So, as this is the front door, I'm going to actually move this pathway over a little bit. I might actually change a little bit of this layout to fit this style, because this style has a lot of like overhangs. So, since this is going to be the front door, I'm probably going to hang some type of lighting right about here, I guess, would be fine. So I'm going to just get a piece of glowstone down here and place it there, and now we have a light out front of our house. And if you want to, you can make your roof curve out a little bit more. Sort of interesting style. I mean, it works. You can definitely do this and then have like another light somewhere on the top roof of your house. And if I turn the, keep forgetting what time it is. So as you see, that gives us some nice lighting for the house. The house is definitely starting to come together, and now it's time to add some leaves. And I am personally using the jungle leaves for the bulk of the house, and spruce leaves for any like grown plants, like if I'd add any trees on the interior. But these jungle leaves look really good because they're nice and bright for just adding some foliage, and I'm just gonna basically diagonally make these things drape down in random order. Don't worry about going too heavy with leaves. If they look too heavy, you can remove some, but experiment. You want to make it look like the house is really starting to get old and start growing over with a bunch of different leaves and stuff. So, and don't just go all straight down. In midair, you can still curve over it. Act as if these are almost like vines growing towards something, but they're not vines. If you sort of understand what I mean. You just want to give it the effect like there's overgrowth all over the place. That's one of the, this is one of few builds that this really works really well. In my opinion, leaves are one of the best building blocks in the game, because there's just so much you can do with them. So just by adding a little bit of these leaves, already the house is looking a bit better. It's looking more to the theme of the style that we're trying to go to. So make a little bit growing over the roof, over the front door. So just experiment. Don't worry too much. If it looks bad, you can change it. So right here we have a pretty good look. I think that's probably even enough. So what we have just done in a fairly little bit of time is built this style of house. Now typically I will then go and find some spruce stairs, and I will work on the roof a little bit, make it a little bit smoother, get some spruce slabs, and round the roof off as much as I can. Wherever there's a leaf, I just ignore it, make it look like the leaf's overgrowing the slabs. Because the leaf block is bigger, if there's a slab there and half of a leaf, the leaf would be looking like it was over the slab. So I just leave it exposed, and we just rounded the roof off a little bit, put some more stairs here, and basically just make the house look a bit better. Doesn't need to look perfect, because that's one of the things about this style, is that this style is not perfect. It's what's the word for it? It's supposed to look like it's old and maybe even starting to fall apart. You could probably even like get away with putting some holes in the wall. So that's the outside of the house. Now we're going to be working a little bit on the inside of the house now, and this is a little bit more tricky. What I'm going to do is, I actually have world edit, so I'm going to do a little bit of a neat trick, and you're looking at my inventory and saying, why do I have netherrack in there? I'm going to use netherrack real quickly as a placeholder, so that I can use world edit on the netherrack. I'm going to use world edit's feature to be able to use randomized blocks when you're using the replace. So instead of replacing bedrock, which will also get some of the blocks outside of the house, I'm going to just place netherrack here, and then run the operator on this, and it will only affect the inside of the house. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go replace near, radius of I think 10 will be enough, netherrack, and then I'm going to go what is it, about 60% cobble, and no, I'm going to go 65% cobble and 35% moss. And there we go. We have a little bit of a better floor here now. And now I'm just going to add some stairs inside that make it look like there's some little cracks in the floor, maybe. So just throw some extra details inside. Over here we'll probably have some type of fence. Now note, I'm not good at interiors. Interior is one of my main weaknesses, because I've never really done much with it. I've never been good at it, and haven't really been able to improve. So what I'm going to be showing here is just some very rudimentary, probably noobish interior work, but it works. So if you need just a little bit more detail, some things like this will be okay. Just use some workbenches and stuff with stairs, and you can make some interesting looking like desks or ledges. Above here I'm going to use some slabs to create like a little shelving area, and I'll use another staircase right here to make the shelving area curve a little bit. Just some interesting stuff so you can still see out the window. Get some things like flower pots out and give some random like life inside of here. Put some floral things. You can put them on top of the crafting bench if you hold your crouch button. So just some really basic life. Okay. We're going to need some light inside too, so I'm probably going to make that thing hang down a little bit and put some glowstone here. Boom. Now we have a light inside. The suspended light. It looks pretty good. There we go. So just experiment a little bit. You'll get something eventually that looks pretty decent. It might take a little bit of work, and you're probably gonna have to go back over it. And well, I was looking in there. I personally think that the bookshelves would be better suited inside of the decoration blocks, in my personal opinion, because they are very decorative. So I'm just going to place some of these somewhere. If I can find a place that really looks like it needs something. I'll remove this window here. Like I said, you don't need too many of them, and just add some like randomized bookcases there. Put up crafting bench, and no, I won't. But I'll take some oak wood planks and just throw those to finish it off, and just stuff like that. You'll think of stuff, trust me. It might take a little bit of practice, but a lot of people probably will be able to come up with something better than this. For the upstairs, I'm really pretty lame here. I don't do much for decoration inside, so I really don't have any experience with this type of thing. I just typically like take a staircase and go like that, and then maybe a chest. Oh, that's a trap chest. So I don't know. You won't be able to like learn interior decoration from me, because I don't really know much about it. I've tried before, and I mean, I've gotten better at it, but as you can tell just from this, I'm not really good at it. So there we go. We have a little bit of an interior up here, not much. Yeah. One of my favorite ways to add a tiny bit to the interior is like take a glowstone block, and you're going to want to have some of these trapdoors, and this is where I use the spruce leaves, like I said before. And I'm just gonna find a corner somewhere that I want to put this. Like right there, for example. Looks fine. Oh, that just goes outside. I can't really do that, can I? First off, fix that. That can just be that right there. Okay, and I'm going to place glowstone down, followed by some of the trapdoors on its side, just to give some like lighted plants. And where do my spruce leaves go? There we go. And just build something like that. Don't necessarily need to make it go all the way to the top, but this gives you like a... It looks like there's like an inside plant here. So, we have a little basic interior. And this house is basically done, so if you just basically copy this style across all of the buildings that you have laid out, and you just experiment with the different shapes, and every house is going to look a little bit different. You can make 3 layers if you want to for the really big houses, etc. So just experiment around. The next episode, probably these will all be done. I don't know. I'm going to try to get them all done. Shouldn't take too long, and then we'll try to find a way to continue from there. So that is it for this episode, and I'll see you later. There is no progress been done on that so far, so no update for this episode. Maybe there will be some next episode. I will talk to you later, and see you there.